Guess we'll begin the meeting here to establish quorum. So there's 4 of us. Jessica is not going to be able to make it tonight. She had a family emergency. So we will move to number 2, receive public comment. Yes, sir.
I have a couple items I'd like to bring up. First of all, I wanted to thank Tim Gibson for sending me the agenda to tonight's meeting because it didn't get posted on the website. I understand there's vacations involved, so I'm not throwing anybody under the bus with regards to that, but the fact that those aren't posted, the minutes aren't posted, that's some things that I know that many of you campaigned on, and I'd like to see that addressed. The other thing I want to talk about, we have some important items on the agenda today. It'd be nice to have ahead of time, you know, for example, you're going to be talking about our, the 2018 appraisals, the 2018 tax rate, the 2019 budget, all of these things that I think the taxpayers would like to be able to see and review ahead of the meeting, and financial report as well. And I hear from a lot of the board meetings I attend, people say, well, we don't like to post things that are in draft phase, and we like to post them afterwards. Well, as far as I'm concerned, from a taxpayer, you got to view it from my perspective is that seems to be an excuse to keep information from the voter. You can write draft over it all you want. I think I understand what draft means, so you're not going to run into any problems there. But I'd like to see the financial reports, especially the budget, posted ahead of time, such that we could review that and bring our issues to you. The last item I have is that in the operations request 17H, we got Shubat Law Firm, and I would hope that one of the commissioners would ask some questions about what that is so that the public could know. Thank you very much for allowing comments.
Anyone else in the room? All right. So we'll move right into Mr. Bill Russell, Cruz.
Okay, I know the financials went out late this month, but it was my mistake. Invoices came in late, I guess, due to the holidays, and plus I have 2 people on maternity leave, and I just swamped, and I couldn't finish it till this morning. So no difference from what I sent out from you this morning. You're in good shape. But sales tax this month was a little over 2.4 million. Investments are going up, continuing to rise. I think I told you last month, I'm not renewing any CD unless they'll give me 2% for 6 months. If they won't give me 2%, I'm moving the money to. Right now, I've got Compass Bank paying us for you 10 basis points higher over Tex Pool because you got a little bit of money with them, and so that puts you up about 1.82. So we'll stay right there, but you're in good shape.
All right, well, I got my first mistake out of the way early, so let's go back to number 3. Oh, sorry. Does anyone have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the financial report.
Second. All those in favor?
Yes.
All right, let's move back to number 2. So, the minutes.
Yeah, I haven't made changes since the last version I sent out today. I had all the final comments. I haven't received anything else back, so unless you have something else, we'll be ready to go.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving ahead. Moving to number 5. Pay district bills, including approval of commission fees and expense reimbursements. And taking action on any commission requested to make comments or arbitration.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. All right, so we are now going to receive a presentation from Chief David Parker. Bob, sure. Perfect time. Bob, it's nice enough to invite him, and we'll introduce him.
This is Chief David Parker, and I wanted him to do a brief presentation. Yeah.
Hey, up, down, up, down.
I wanted him to give us a brief presentation that I've seen before about the importance of the cancer initiative that's currently going through the United States. And I think he has a real important story to tell, and I'd like it to be, I'd like to hear it from him.
Great. So good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me. This is the same presentation I gave at safety.
Gotta wake the computer up.
Same presentation I gave at safety. I cut it down. Bob said about 15 minutes, so I will be. I'll be moving through my slides pretty quick. I will make this presentation available to you all if you would like, and we will go from there. Sorry. Good. All right, good, great. So, anyway, that's me. All right, compared to the general public, there's some of the cancer statistics right there, with testicular cancer at the very top, and it continues to be at the top, and it continues to rise. Some more of your cancers right there, prostate and colon, big one, and of course leukemia. Cancer is now the leading cause of deaths for firefighters nationwide. 60% of the names on the fallen firefighters memorial wall have died from occupational cancer. Researchers suggest the prevalence of cancer in firefighters is 9 to 12% greater than the general population. Let's talk about real quick about some research. One of the most prevalent research undertakings was through the Illinois Fire Service Institute, and what they did was they looked at some things that are facing firefighters: cardiovascular events, chemical exposure related to the carcinogenic atmospheres that we operate in. Some of the quick findings here: air samplings from within the structures during active fire on one day showed hydrogen cyanide levels that were nearly 7 times the ideal H. Benzene levels, again, 15 times the permissible exposure limits. These are all hazardous materials terms. Take it from me, it's bad. There were other volatile chemicals that were also, compounds that were also detected inside the structure during overhaul and on the fire ground at levels below applicable exposures. 2 important sources of particulate were identified on the fire ground. This is very important. Of course, the smoke from the fire, but also the diesel exhaust from the operating apparatus. Several flame retardants and some hydrocarbons, some PAHs, were detected on turnout gear items after use in the fire. Gross on-scene decon, we'll talk about that a little bit later, with water and detergent scrubbing was effective in bringing those PAH contaminations to pre-fire level. So it's, again, for those of us in the hazmat environment, gross decontamination takes away about 80 to 85% of what we need to take away from. Very simple rule. 2 important sources of the particulate were identified on the fire ground. Again, was the plume from the fire and diesel exhaust from the apparatus. That's a duplicate side. I'm going backwards. I'm sorry, I duplicated my slides. I apologize. Volatile compounds like hydrogen cyanide and benzene were measured off-gassing from the turnout gear. It's very important because the turnout gear not only protects us, but it also acts as a sponge for these compounds and chemicals. But after levels below applicable exposure limits, off-gassing levels return back to normal within an hour, regardless of whether or not the turnout gear was decontaminated. So basically, heat had a big party to play in that, and we'll talk about that here in a minute real quick. Some more of the IFSI research study. Personal protective equipment, neck skin, hand skin were contaminated with PAHs during the firefighting. Fire attack and search teams generally had the most contaminations. Search teams and fire attack teams, of course, we would think that, but we'll talk about vent teams in a minute also. On their turnout gear, hand skin was more contaminated than their neck skin. Contaminations on the turnout increased with each fire response, if not decontaminated. So you continue to get a cumulative effect the more burns they have. 3 types of field decon methods were used, and like I said, wet soap decon was found to be the most effective. We're just talking about some simple Dawn soap or whatever you want to use, non-abrasive. Commercial cleansing wipes, which I'm sure you all are using, also showed some benefits to remove the PAH contaminations from the neck skin. Overall, this study provided a greater understanding of the exposure pathways associated with firefighting and the measures that can be implemented to reduce these exposures. And here are just some statistics. If you look at, this is my hands slide, and you know, everybody talks about the neck being the most vulnerable place. It's turned out to be your hands. And interestingly, like I was talking about, you would expect to see high levels of contamination on your attack and your search teams, but and even on your overhaul teams. But look at your outside vent teams, and this comes from people not wearing their PPE. Let's talk about some of the risks. Yes, sir.
Not wearing it or not wearing it properly?
Yes, both.
Both, okay.
Yeah. Absorption, most permeable areas, as we all know, face, neck, throat, groin. Very important slide here. With every 5 degrees that the body temperature, internal core temperature increases, Skin absorption rates increase by as much as 400%. So we're sucking it in. And we know what we, when we're in our turnout gear, and even when we're not doing anything, our core body temperatures can reach 101 degrees. So what do we need to do? It's pretty simple. We got to change the culture, and it starts with us. It starts with the chief. It starts with the chief officers. It starts with the commissioners. If you got a chief that doesn't think that cancer is a problem, and please, y'all, I'm going to get into some things, and I don't want to point fingers, but we're going to get into some things that may be uncomfortable for people, but it needs to be said. We've got to change our culture. We've got to change our culture. Some real easy risk reduction methods. Again, the gross decon, washing your hands and other soiled things on scene. This is basically what we learned in kindergarten. Wear your SCBAs. Release your most contaminated crews first. First in, first out. It's always been first truck in's the last truck to go. No, they need to go. They need to go first. Have your apparatus drivers wear your N95s or N99s. Sorry, there's a typo there. Limit your hot and warm zone personnel. Keep everybody back. Keep your trucks closed up with the HVACs off. You can turn them off if they're not being used. And keep your on-deck crews outside of the smoke envelope. Transport contaminated gear back to the fire station inside plastic bags. You guys can, there's all sorts of products out there. Everybody jumps on the cancer bandwagon. You can just use plastic bags that you can throw away. That's what we do. Don clean and laundered soil clothing even before showering. I let my guys, when we come back, I tell my guys, get out of your clothes, get in some gym shorts and a t-shirt. I don't care what you look like, but get out of your clothes. And don some station shoes and in place of your duty boots. That's something else I allow them to do. We trudge through gunk and junk and blood and vomit and everything, and then we track it back in the fire station. Let them wear different shoes inside the station. And of course, no bunker gear allowed in the station. I don't know anybody who allows bunker gear in the station. At the least, exchange your hoods and your gloves. Wear EMS gloves while you're doing your decon. Aggressive secondary cleaning your apparatus when you get back, and please remember the seats, especially for y'all since you've got a large volunteer complement here. No contaminated individuals or gear and POVs. I suggest for your volunteers, buy them some Tyvek suits. And if they can just throw their Tyvek suit on, if they're dirty, they won't contaminate their cloth seats or anything like that. Real easy, get them some plastic bags. Here again, it's real easy. They can throw it in their trunk and take it back to the station. It won't contaminate the inside of their vehicles. Here again, don't use personal vehicles to relieve companies on scene. Use your fire department vehicles. Clean cab concept. You can look into the clean cab concept. You all know what that is. It's kind of expensive. Some departments are moving their SCBAs out of the cabs altogether. And on your routine checks, make sure, and your tools and your apparatus, keep your stuff outside of the bay and close your bay doors. Keep your bunker gear room doors closed to prevent contamination from that diesel exhaust. Store your turnout someplace where it's away from the UV light. Adopt a gear share program. I can talk to you all about that later if you'd like to know. We've got a gear share program at Champions where I'm a commissioner. And of course, limiting the carpet in your stations. You guys are hopefully doing that, going with polished floors or some other sort of non-porous floor. Controlling the risks. Here's some statistics here again with cancer. This is where, like I said, we're going to start talking about smoking and obesity and things like that. So cigarette smoking will increase an individual's risk of cancer by 25%. 7,000 different chemicals in tobacco, 69 are carcinogens. Smoking is the leading cause of preventable death in the United States. Smoking use is associated with 80% of lung cancers. There's your prevalence within the United States. Adult males and then firefighters. Some of the cancers that are associated with smoking. But here's the slide you're not going to like. Smokeless tobacco use among firefighters. And what the research has found out is that when fire departments went to smoke-free environments to fire departments meant no cigarettes. It didn't mean no tobacco. Hence, the tobacco use would go up because guys wouldn't quit. They still wanted the nicotine. And of course, mouth, esophagus, and pancreatic is bad with your smokeless tobacco. Another unfortunate statistic, your overweight prevalence in the U.S., look at it in career and fire and EMS, it's above average. Obesity is almost on line with the U.S. population. According to the World World Cancer Research, 20% of all cancers diagnosed in the U.S. are caused by a combination of excess body weight, physical inactivity, excess alcohol consumption, and poor nutrition, and thus could be prevented. Serious consideration should be given to your department being physically fit, which I know you guys are moving that way, and tobacco-free. And like I found out in my new department, be prepared to assist those in need and expect substantial and continual resistance. Early detection keys, you all, I understand, are going to do the wellness program this year. Outstanding, thank you, good. I'm going to budget for it next year at Aldine, and I'm confident it's going to pass. So we won't stay on this too long. I know we're running out of time. Does it work? Substantial long-term cost savings can be expected from preventing cardiovascular disease, certain cancers, and by reducing early disabilities from musculoskeletal and back injuries. For every $1, this is a statistic. You can see my site down there at the bottom. For every $1 spent on uniformed personnel wellness, as results in an almost immediate return of over $2 in occupational injury and illness costs. Additionally, these numbers underestimate the true cost savings since it doesn't take into account non-occupational injuries and long-term care. I retired from the Woodlands after 32 years. They were gracious enough, and LifeScan was gracious enough to share these statistics with us. This is from last October. 140 firefighters and 15 dispatchers. This is what they found. A couple of enlarged aortic roots, left ventricular hypertrophy, which are serious medical conditions. 6 enlarged prostates, 1 prostate mass, which really isn't good. Thyroid nodule follow-up sizes. That means when they saw them, they said, you need to go to the doctor now. And then stage 1 vascular damage, hypertension, 26 individuals.
1 year. 1 year of doing it, right?
Well, we've been doing it. This is only last year.
That's what I'm saying. These are numbers from 1 year.
Numbers from yes, they're numbers from 1 year, and I've got the statistics.
You did say that. I just wanted to highlight.
Yeah,
that.
and we and the Woodlands. I know personally, the Woodlands has caught since they started doing we started doing LifeScan 4 years ago. They've caught 3 cancers, and they've all been thyroid. And then we had 4 people that were sent home because of cardiovascular abnormalities on the stress test. Here again, Woodlands Fire Department. 23% of the people were deemed to be overweight. And that's per body fat. That's not by BMI, which I don't really like BMI, because if you look at BMI, I'm overweight. So, but if you look at body fat, you had 23% of the participants were overweight, 14 were obese. How far does this go? We're almost wrapping it up here, guys. How far does it go? Just this past January, you had the kids of 3 firefighters at 1 fire station diagnosed with bone cancer, and the last diagnosis was just this past January. They don't know if the problem is the station, if it's the area the station is in, or if there's some sort of correlation, but the Hawaii Health Department is looking into the link. I recently looked for any more information on this, and they don't have any more information as to where the cancer may be coming from. So, real quick about me, I am a cancer survivor. June of 2009, I started experiencing abdominal pain. It took the doctors about 4 months to figure out I had cancer. I had testicular cancer. I had the same cancer Lance Armstrong did. By that time, the cancer had metastasized to my abdomen. Between October and January, I had 5 surgeries and 2 rounds of chemotherapy, and I tell people it took me 2 years to realize my new normal, and my new normal is wild. You just, because like my oncologist said, I'm sure somebody in here's had cancer, somebody's probably had chemotherapy, and like she said, we slowly poison you to death. So it affects my immune system, and like I said, I've got a new normal now. So my warmest regards, and I appreciate y'all's time, and I'm available for questions. I'll hang around, and like I said, my presentation is about 1 hour and 15 minutes long. It's got a lot more information, a lot more statistics, and I appreciate y'all's time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. I really appreciate you presenting that. And, absolutely. kind of helps put things in perspective of what we do here, so that's, really neat, and thanks a lot for setting that up. So, no, that was, thank you again. So let's move to, number 7, to review and take action on the 2018 appraisal evaluations and the commencement of the adoption of the 2018 tax.
We still don't have anything from the county on that. That one's gonna be a table.
Okay. So move on. Tim?
Okay.
Secret where?
Magic.
Oh. I was looking around, I was like, I don't see anything with the computer. Okay. Sorry, I got sidetracked. Okay.
He's just that good.
He's that good.
He's that good. So number 8, to review and discuss the proposed District 2019 budget.
Can't really do that without the phone.
Yeah, I don't know if you have anything on that yet, so we'll take
To propose the 2018 district
that.
tax
That
rate.
for sure is.
That can be tabled. Moving on here. Let's move to number 10, to review and take action on the payment of operations funding for the Sizewell Volunteer Fire Department pursuant to the budget.
I make a motion to approve $2,390,456.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion approved. So moving to 11, to review and take action on the payment of capital funding pursuant to the district 2018 budget.
Make a motion to approve $30,646.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Motion passes. Moving to number 12, to review and take action on reports of construction matters from Department Martinez.
Okay, we'll start with the station number 2. As you all know, that one's been operational. There are some punch list items that J.E. Dunn continues to go back in and correct. So the process of identifying problems, getting it over to the department, and then over to our side, it's working out pretty good, so appreciate that. One item that we will address is I guess the addition of the phone lines at the dorm pods, and so that'll be at all stations. We are in the process of getting that priced out, put those in. Other than that, we don't know of anything else at Station 2, so as those issues continue to come up, let us know. We do have pay application number 17, which was for $0. But we did put that on there.
That's a good number.
That is. So station number 7. That one too is going through the same process as far as punch list items. We have several items out there. I think by June 29th is what I've been told for an the current outstanding list of items. And there's some glazing that's still on order, so as soon as that gets in, that'll be replaced as well. Again, the phone lines at the dorm pods, and then I did put on there, but at the stairwell, at the platform, they're pricing up a guardrail, if you will. Once I get that cost, I'll share that with you all, and that'll be installed.
That landing in
The
the
landing.
stairwell?
So hopefully this,
Nope, was my case.
hopefully this guardrail will keep them off there, but again, if someone truly does want to get on there, where there's a will, there's a way. I don't know how to help that. On this one, we do have a pay application number 17 with actual dollars there. It's $26,932. And I don't know why they didn't just fill out the rest, because the balance of the contract is only $239. But I guess next month they'll get a bill for $239. So, their accounting software, not mine. Let's see, station number 9. So at this point, again, it's slowed down a little bit, and here in the past couple of days, it's kind of speeded back up over there. They were still awaiting some utilities. We sent plans back down to the county, to Harris County, for review and approval. That has happened. It was on Monday that we did receive the approvals. I sent that over to J.E. Dunn. They in turn got their guys to start moving forward with the finishing up of the grading and all that. And then once that's all done and the work's done, the work's inspected, and then we'll go ahead and issue for permanent power. So we're moving forward on that. However, again, we still want to make sure we keep in mind that the easements, hopefully that's progressing and we get that resolved.
I'm hoping to have that finished this month.
Okay.
And we'll finally have a station where people don't ask my station number is.
Okay.
It'll be posted now.
Payout number 17 for station number 9 is $213,414. Station number 13, the fire marshal, they did issue the certificate of compliance on 7/16. And as of now, I don't think anything else is out there. The fire department is, I guess, planning the grand opening, and I believe that is the 25th, is that correct, August? So I guess as that comes online, they will share with everybody. Pay application number 17 for station 13 is $848,003. And as far as the stations, if you have any questions,
So I know that 13 actually is manned, but
Tuesday night.
Tuesday night?
Tuesday night.
So, and expectation is August 1st to.
August 1st for duty crew, volunteer, and ambulance.
Awesome. Tim, what do we need to do for the open house? Do we need to just get that notified to the public, or? Or it's, okay, so we're kind of going to the other side.
David Codigan was supposed to have sent something out on Facebook, you haven't got one out yet.
No idea.
We're at time, so I just.
Yeah,
so there-
we approved the banner yesterday, so he was supposed to send out a safety banner, keep you following.
I'd like to add two things under that for our committee. The construction committee has approved on Station 7. It was discovered that the curb could have been moved to make ladder truck easier. So it was brought up by the station and department to do that, so the committee approved that. We do not have a complete number yet. We've just got the preliminary stuff going forward, but that will take away from some of our construction budget, so I'd like to approve to get that zero back out. Or I don't know exactly how to go ahead and get that approved, so that whenever it's ready, we can move forward with it.
Well, if you remember, you have your contingency, so you're 2% under the project, so you're probably okay.
Okay, so just wait until it's done. We'll be okay,
You're
but
within your 2%?
I think so.
Is it gonna be
well,
within the 2%?
this will have to be changed over to the contract.
No, I know, but it'll be within the 2% of the total. So I mean, previously, we had allowed all allowance for this, so that it wouldn't have.
Unless it's a lot of curves, which shouldn't.
No, but we got that, and then we got the Station 7, the stairwells, and then we have, the cable drops, so we do have some additional costs we will be getting.
I can't remember, was the call out for the drops, what was the need for that, was.
There are no phone lines in any of the storm pods.
And so the
yeah.
alerting never,
You know, they were
Triggered.
already alerting, there was no phones to call. Yeah, right. Kind of makes sense to do that.
Just one per dorm group of
Pod,
3,
yeah.
not in individual rooms.
There'll also be those drops that we're gonna put the post and the plugs outside by the parking lot to allow staff trucks that are left at the stations to have a place to actually plug in without having to stretch a lot of cords. We're going ahead and add those.
so those are the things we got coming up.
Questions? Anybody else? So, is there any motion, anything with that, other than just a single report? Okay, number 13, so to review and take action of any pay applications submitted by J.E. Dunn. Approved by Martinez Architects.
Make a motion to approve the 3 pay apps, all 4 including zero.
That's a $0.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Alright. Moving to 14, to review and take action on construction matters related to Station 3, 5, the ops building, and the district department administration building, which were damaged related to Hurricane Harvey building.
I got a question. This, well, we only have 2 things. We got an AC issue at Station 3. Has that, are we handling that? Y'all handling that?
So on that, I provided a proposal 2 meetings ago, is that right? And it's never been approved. Actually, I was gonna go ahead and pay it and ask for reimbursable, but again, it's y'all's cost. It's just, it's getting hot out there, it needs to be addressed.
How much leather do you know?
6,000 change.
Yeah.
I would say we approve it under here, no?
Yeah, you're right.
Because there were several, the drain for the water goes up in some places, so it's sweating once it gets cold, and they found several other issues, like 2 or 3 other issues. This is one of the, for your knowledge, it's one of the ones we've recently tried to assist in remedying, but without taking every panel out, it's hard to figure it all out.
So it's a little over 6,000, so you want it up to 7, so you need
So approved for 8.
Make a motion to approve up to 7. Please prepare.
All those in favor? Aye. Alright. So is there anything else, had anything with 3 to 5, the ops building in the department?
Are we,
Do you have anything? Okay, you said
well, the administration building, if you wanna go over that real quick.
You're talking 10-7-10?
It's,
We have, don't we have that stuff there?
that was on that.
I think it's,
I think it's here, I think it's this one.
All right, we'll do it here.
Okay.
So,
Report, sir.
so just to give you all an update on that one, currently we have the documents right at 100% complete. We've issued full-size sets to both the ESD as well as the fire department. From my understanding, I guess both parties are going through it. We'll meet again to kind of finalize the documents. We've met several times. As far as the documents going to Harris County, we've had them submitted twice now. We got the first round of comments. We've addressed those comments. We've issued them back into the county. We'll get those returned, and we'll go ahead and submit one last time, is the anticipation of one more go around of the thing. TDL&R, we did submit to them, and got the facility registered. And so, with that, I'll have to update the schedule, but as of right now, what we're looking at is probably, with some modifications to the floor plan, probably 6 to 8 weeks to get those modified back into the county and then returned back to the county, just because of the time frame the county takes to review the documents. We'll try to expedite the process, but again, 6 weeks being on the low end of that. And with that, don't have any other thing to discuss.
So you guys want to add into Okay, moving forward, number 14, to review and discuss, take action regarding a new agreement with Motorola for a new power dispatch system, including any microwave system radio equipment.
So the technology committee met Monday to go over, the statement of work for the new tower, backup radio, or backup dispatch system for the new 10710 Telge facility. In addition to that, there's a microwave system and then an option for radio replacement. The current radios that we have, the maintenance contract is up on September 1st. So we have to make a decision to replace or pay an additional year's worth of coverage on maintenance. We brought in Ben from Motorola to talk us through. We've got some information that the committee agreed upon.
Do you need direction from the board whether to go with the maintenance, or is that not tonight to make a decision?
No, this is our proposal.
Okay.
This is our proposal. Slides for you. Got some slides.
Good call.
Can you move it forward one? Sorry.
So what I've done is I've tried to put together basically a high level of what's all included in here. Instead of drilling down with 5 or 6 pages worth of equipment breakout. So you have the 140-foot self-supporting tower that's going to tell you along the 12x16 shelter. 4 operator positions of MCC 7500 console. Those are our wireline consoles. You have a 3-ring microwave that runs from between Telge Fire Station 1 and Recross. The conventional channel gateways, control stations, combiners, consolettes, trade-in and replacement of the 294 portables and 108 mobiles, and all the associated services with those, along with the PC replacement. The project total with all of that is $4,905,922. The next slide will go ahead and go into a cost breakdown. This is breaking down the equipment at Telge, which includes the tower, the shelter, the consoles, all the microwave that we talked about on the first one, and the total there of $1,531,000. The subscriber replacement, which is the other equipment, that's all of the portables and mobiles, upgrading those to the all-band radios. What we've done, what I've done is basically provided a $2,000 trade-in for every radio that y'all have today. That's about roughly a 20% return on investment of what y'all paid for them originally 5 years ago. So that we could bundle all this together and make it a nice package all at one time. The implementation cost you see there, that's just a quick breakdown of everything that we're going to be doing. It's, you know, it's much more labor intensive than what all the deals, few lines described, but I just kind of try to put it all together for you, what all that included, so you see the breakdown of those costs. The microwave expansion, a quick explanation of what that is. So today you have a microwave path that sits between the three major data centers that you have that share critical information. This is a redundant path, a 1 gig redundant path between the three sites. The main purpose of this is for you guys, for your data infrastructure, in case you have a fail, you have a redundant path there to keep the data flowing between those three critical places. This was kind of brought to light in 2017 when we took a lightning strike and took down all your data for it. How long were you on that?
About an hour.
Which is a long time when you consider all the information that's flowing between the three locations. The chief asked me to provide a potential financial option. So you guys are aware of Motorola. We own our own credit corporation. It's a subsidiary of Motorola Solutions. We can offer like a 3-year agreement that has semi-annual payments. That if you pay it off early, y'all did this when we all did the infrastructure. They ended up doing a lease, but I think y'all paid it off within the first year. That comes with no penalty. You just pay the interest that was accrued up to that time. If this is something that y'all choose to do, we can provide an amortization schedule based on, you know, the 3 years. And then the last slide addresses the contract agreement. So last year when we signed the contract with Harris County ESD9 for the fire station alerting, in there in section 3.4, there is a clause in there that allows you for the additional 3 years from the date of this contract to provide or purchase anything else from Motorola under the same terms and conditions. It makes purchasing a little bit easier for everybody, but you know, again, if an additional communication system agreement is requested, we can easily do one, but when to make note of that, we do that.
Any more from y'all, or?
No, I mean, the tower that's going up the new building is just part of it, really. The backup dispatch center that we have is, we want to really get it to the point where it can be completely redundant by walking in there as opposed to having to move wires and connect things and do things like that. So a good part of that is basically putting that infrastructure in place to be able to provide that capability.
Chief, can you speak to, or have somebody speak to the importance and need for a backup facility like this as opposed to what we currently have? For people that don't understand what we may currently have.
So right now at Station 1, which is off of Rodney Ray and Windfern, we have a small fortified trailer. And so when I say trailer, don't think of mobile home, but it's a fortified trailer that has, is it like 4 foot by 6 foot maybe?
The longer.
I mean, it's like 4 foot by 6 foot with 2 consolettes in it. So if dispatch fails, you have to have 2 people drive all the way over to Station 1's territory. And if that happens at 5 o'clock in the evening, you're looking at anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes to get them there.
And how many consoles are at dispatch right now?
7?
6. going from 6 full consoles to 2 consolettes in a laundry room, essentially, that is in a fortified trailer that is not hurricane rated and, you know, all that good stuff.
It does have a rating. It's not a just regular trailer. It was provided by Motorola, and it was the best option we had at the time. The other,
It's the,
what?
it's the radio equipment shelter, so
Yeah.
it's one of those
Gotcha.
shelters.
Yeah, half of it
that's
is
a lot of size.
radios and half of it is this.
Backup dispatch?
Yes, backup dispatch.
Yeah, okay.
So it is what we could do at the time, but since we have the opportunity for a better option, if the dispatch center has a catastrophic failure and we need to leave the area, this is within 15 minutes of the dispatch center, and it lets you get back up and running within a reasonable amount of time with actual good equipment, and you can actually walk right in and have 4 people. There's 4.
And would you say that it is an industry standard to have a fully functioning backup dispatch center with a department of this size?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Are we gonna break it out into 2 different things, because the one's part of it would kind of go under the construction part, the build out of that, right, or would it be 2 different?
Well, I think there's 2 parts to that. I mean, I think to keep track of it, that would be good.
For
But-
accounting.
But the way they packaged it, it's one.
It's more cost effective to the
more co-
organization
yeah.
to do it as a whole package deal. The 2.2 that we've identified as part of the construction, yeah, it would come under that, the construction of 10.7.10, and it's part of what we're already including below the line that we were looking at in our meeting Tuesday. And the rest of that, the equipment and the extra stuff that goes with it, the rest of that 4.9 it's just part of the contract and part of replacing equipment that we're getting substantial deal on with this, extending out warranties to new 7-year warranties on all the equipment and things like that.
And all the equipment that we're trading in, the rate that we're getting back on it is a much higher rate than you would get
Yeah.
at any
So you're getting the trade-in
normal
plus,
type of trade-in environment.
Right.
plus
Just
all
the
new
radios.
equipment with new 7-year warranties on
If,
it.
if we were doing the radio swap out next year, we would only be getting $500 for trading that.
I'll make a motion, we approve.
Can you go back to the first slide?
Do we need to, in this motion, sorry to interrupt, do we need to, in this motion, decide whether or not we're gonna do the financing option? Like that he's
I don't
proposed?
think he has that to present. You don't know what the rates are or anything like that, do you?
I don't, I know the rate that we had on the 3-year is 3.66%.
So this
but,
would be
you
more
know,
than that.
Well, no, it wouldn't be on the 3-year deal because the amortization schedule, you know, that would come along with that to show you, depending on when you pay and stuff. I'm not a finance guy, so I can't really speak to that, but I can provide you the actual documentation that would go with it if y'all choose to do the finance.
Okay.
I think when we talked about this, Chief, didn't we? We were saying that signing now, that agreeing to the finance allows us to start the process, start working on the equipment replacement and that immediately, and put payments off to the 2019 budget, which we haven't started work on, or we're working on, and that allows us to kick it off to January, even if you pay it all off in January. It's a minimal incursion there, because part of this, the 2.2 for the 10.7.10 won't be till next summer anyway.
So those are your 2 options. So what I was saying was that you really have 2 options. If you pick the finance part, then you can kick it off to your 2019 budget, or if you're gonna pay cash, because it would be really the radios you're paying cash for this year, you're just gonna have to do a budget adjustment.
And we don't have a breakout for the radio cost, do we?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, it was on the other slide.
Yeah,
Which one?
The radio cost
The
is
radio cost.
2686504.
Yeah.
Bill, do you have any thoughts?
1 month sales tax.
Honestly.
The money guy says we're good either way. All right, so go with
I don't see why you wouldn't just do, you don't want to do a budget amendment, don't do a budget. I don't see why you wouldn't just do a budget amendment and just pay cash for this. You have the.
and avoid all the finance.
I mean, we would be doing it next year anyways,
Right.
so we're
Right.
just, yeah.
Now or in a
Right.
few months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but didn't last time we did the financing option to make sure everything worked, as soon as everything worked, we paid it off?
Last time we did that because of where it was just a timing issue with where
Yeah.
the sales tax was at the time. We had anticipated funds, but we weren't all settled in on all that yet.
So we wanted the flexibility.
Over 3 years ago.
It was well.
We can afford to pay cash, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously.
It was when
don't pay interest on
Howard
it.
was out with his back.
Better off with that.
Yeah.
It was when Howard was out with his back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
That was 2014.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and make a motion for the back one, go back.
That one?
Yeah, project total,
Yep.
$4,905,922.
Second.
Now, remember, we just need to make sure we handle the budget amendment, we go back in, we pull the money out.
Well, what they're doing right now, Tim, is they're just approving the project at that amount. They're gonna fund just the radios right now on the budget.
Excellent.
Right? And we don't need to pay anything towards that. If I understood you right, the rest of it will come up in 19, all the tower construction and everything. Is that right?
I'm sorry?
Ben, don't start counting your money yet. We're just I just wanna make sure, so what we're saying is that the money for the radios we're gonna do now, but the other money's gonna come in 2019 with the construction, is that correct?
Well, so we don't, if you go back to the original contract, as far as, we don't bill anything.
Right.
We don't invoice you.
Oh,
for
we're good with
anything.
that.
We ship something or we do the work on it, right?
Right.
So the only things that we're gonna be doing, we could potentially even remotely be doing is some of the tower work or shelter work, if we would get that far along. I don't think we're even gonna get there until 2019.
Okay.
So,
And the
so
radio
no
will be in
issues there.
2018?
Yeah.
Okay.
So all you're gonna accrue is for the radios, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
Well, then, what you can do is just approve the whole thing right now, because it doesn't even sound like you're gonna have a budget amendment,
Right.
because the second.
Because it's not gonna get until-
Right.
It's not gonna come down.
Right.
Right, so, that's what you said.
You just need to call for a vote.
All right, those in favor? Aye. All right.
16.
All right, to receive a report from the district administrative staff, which is the man over there.
All right, so you can see my trusty right hand is out on vacation this week. But we've been working with, meeting with new commissioners, meeting with other commissioners, working on various directions and changes and things that have come up since new offices and commissioners have come on board. This includes the committees, any scheduled committees that we've been invited to. We would like to make a note on that either Karina or I would like to be involved, or at least get a report back from the committee so that we can include it and keep notes on those types of things. So we have attended several committees, but again, there's more there going on that we want to make sure we're staying on top of. We've been working with, of course, Ricardo, J.E. Dunn, Tellefson, our other vendors and such, including Harris County, and working on permits, making trips down to their wonderful office on 290. If you haven't done that lately, it's such an adventure, I'd recommend it, with a lunch. We also are working on our own processes and communications, tracking everything from our purchase orders and finding better ways to do things, and always continually trying to find ways to better improve our communication process. I mean, just today, we discovered we had a breakdown of a communication process, and we're gonna do our best to improve and work on those things. We've been working with Mr. Dill on some of the real estate projects and things coming up, so that's pretty much what the staff's been doing.
So, number 17, to receive a report from the department, including consideration by the board to approve emergency requests and others.
One of the things that has gone out this week is our 2018 report to the community, which is basically 2017 in review and then an outlook for 2018. It went out on Facebook, it went out to the membership, and we're getting bound copies made to send out to our stakeholders in the community. So we wanted to share a few slides with you from that report in case you guys haven't seen it. This is our organizational chart to show you what everybody is responsible for. Friends Police is chief over operations, and that involves all suppression, all of EMS, safety, and then rescue, those kind of things. Steve Witt is the assistant chief over resource and logistics. And basically, that's anything that the department hands out and anything that they need to fix. So building and vehicle maintenance, and then all of the supplies to everything in the department, EMS to station supplies. And then Rodney Yanchek is our assistant chief over prevention and education. He's over the training department, investigators, PIOs, administrative staff. So basically that just gives you an outlook of how the organization is set up. and then obviously I report to the board, and then on up to the ESD. So move it forward. This is just a little glance at us by the numbers. It just tells you, you know, the hour with the most calls is, 4 p.m. We ran, almost 27,000 calls last year, and that shows you the last few years as our call volume goes up. It just hits the highlights as far as, the top 5 medical responses that we have, the busiest month, and obviously August was the most 911 calls and fire alarm calls. That's going back to Harvey. So, next slide.
How does 2018's call volume compare?
We are still trending up by a very small percentage, but we're still trending up. Station 13 with them opening, it should be interesting to see the way Justin or Chief Reed has said is, if you put it out there, they'll call. So we'll see if there's an incremental increase with the increase in the ambulances.
It'll be good to see this 2018 on the next couple meetings.
Absolutely, to see how it's going. Right. So obviously this just gives a little breakout. We cover 164 square miles. The average cost of what a firefighter costs us, 12 stations, will obviously go up to 13. Average number of volunteers for 2017 for us. Average number of employees, so they're running about neck and neck.
And to be clear, just a great number that's on there, which by the way, I was gonna say this at the end, but since I interrupted, I'll say it now.
Yeah.
Great report. I read through the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's one of the best department reports I've seen of several departments, so.
It was definitely a team effort, but special thanks to Chief Clements for his hard work on this project. He really pushed us all.
The number right there, the $4,500 for those of you that don't know, that $4,500, the average cost to have a firefighter, that's a good number to look at and understand that volunteer, paid, it doesn't matter who you are. It's $4,500 for a firefighter. A lot of people think that volunteers are free help.
Yeah, that's just how.
$4,500 just for the gear, and that's something that a lot of people don't understand when they look at those. And I like the fact that you highlighted that. So, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's really good. And then this is just a small breakdown on financials to just show you where the money's actually going, split between departments, so that people can see, EMS is the money hog. So.
Mispronounced maker.
Wow.
From the top rope.
But, it just to put stuff out there so people know where the money's going. It's not just sitting around, that it is trying to be split between the departments. It's good.
No, I think we can all agree that was a great report. I saw a lot of hits on the site for it, so it's, the community's definitely interested in it, so well done. Let's go ahead and move forward to approve the emergency request, A, B, C, D, and E. Make some comments on those.
The majority of what our emergency requests are is our current purchase policy is anything over $2,000 has to have board approval. And so these are emergency requests for repairs on fire trucks or HVAC, because those are the two things that we consider emergencies. Get the trucks back up and running and in service and keep the crews comfortable.
Fair enough.
Make a motion to approve the emergency request A through E.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, move to capital requests, F.
CDW, it's for 10 computers. These are replacement computers. It's 10 desktops and 6 laptops with extended support, and it's going through the, we have a replacement schedule, and that's what IT is fulfilling.
Make a motion to approve capital request F.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All right, to operations requests, G, H, I, J, and K.
Okay, these are just normal items over $2,000, to address what Mr. Wilson asked in the beginning of the meeting. The Schubert Law Firm is the attorney for the fire department. They handle any kind of public information requests that come in. They handle any subpoenas that, where the membership gets subpoenaed to go and testify at court. They are the ones that review contracts for us, and anything like that. So that's what the Chabot Law Firm does for fire departments.
Or with insurance stuff for the apparatus that's involved in incidents and lawsuits as well, right?
Well, she doesn't do the insurance.
But she does them.
She
Legal.
coordinates them, she coordinates with Phil Becker.
With Phil Becker, yes. If there is that incident, yes, she does do that, but currently we don't have that right.
Also, I mean, I work with Gail just like last
Yes.
month on the addendum, and then we've been working on the new purchasing policy and stuff like that, so that's what we're doing with Gail.
Great.
Texas EMS conference is on here. Chief Reed is taking 11 personnel to the EMS conference. We're going to rent a 15-passenger van, so we don't have 17 vehicles going up there for them. Double occupancy on the rooms, and then 2 additional courses, one for Chief Reed, for administrator of record, and then for 2 supervisors for the
Designated infection control.
infection control. And then the RZ masks are the filter masks for the personnel, for the suppression personnel, for during overhaul. And that's for one for every suppression person in the department to help with the carcinogens like Chief Parker talked about earlier.
Make a motion to approve G through K.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
If I can ask a quick question, we just go back just very briefly to the emergency request. Under the new policy that we were discussing, and Jessica hasn't had a chance to fully weigh in on this yet, but we, you would not have seen, for example, you wouldn't have seen A, B, we said 5,000 or 3,000?
On this?
Yeah, we were saying 5 or?
Five.
5, okay, so we wouldn't have seen A, we wouldn't have seen B, we wouldn't have seen D, and we wouldn't have seen E. Do you have any feelings like you feel like that you'd be losing a lot of information because of that threshold limit, or, I mean, we have to make it somewhere, is where we have to take it.
I'm all for the idea, just personally, it's something to add on to that is, so everybody's fully aware of this, these items are all items that are budgeted for and approved. The amount of money is all there and approved. All we're doing is just purely approving the individual items as they come in because they meet a certain threshold. But this total amount of money is not additional monies being spent. This is
Correct.
money that's already approved in the budget. We're just approving the individual spending of the items over a certain amount of money.
After it's already been spent.
Well,
Yeah, that's the other.
Well-
Under the emergency, yeah.
it is, but as it sits right now, you have a commissioner that's approving in the emergency approval process as it sits right now. Actually, all 3 of these reports, so all of those items listed on that screen right now, those are all budgeted items.
I should have clarified, sorry.
Yeah, none of those items are actually not in budget. So this is all just has to do with the thresholds in the emergency
So I
policy.
guess
Just
we're
fiscal
5,000 would apply to
responsibility
all of
talking
them.
about it.
The 5,000 would apply to operate, so the 5,000 would apply to all of them, so that's,
Yeah.
thank you for correcting me on that. So that means on the operation request, for example, I don't know if you really care about time remote connection seeing that, but, so those requests, you would not see those under the $5,000 policy. It's just a level of, the question is, how much detail do you want to see into these things?
Well, and then if you look, I don't know what page it's on, hang on. If you look at page 50, in your board packet, that's the over 500 report. So
Right.
any purchase order issued that's over $500, you guys have a list of all of those. So you're still going to see them, you're just not physically approving them, so you still have that level of detail. And then one of the other items that we had discussed was to run a check register for you, so that you actually see the checks as they're dispersed with what accounts they're hitting.
That way
So
you
you
can
have,
kind of tie,
no, go ahead.
that way you can kind of tie, budget back to the checks, you can just review, so if there's a check you want to pull to see if you have a question, you can just pull it right then and there. And that would be for all the departments.
Absolutely.
That would give you a complete picture.
And is that something that we could then post?
Sure.
Like, I mean, redact account numbers or whatever we need to do, but as far as taking this.
Creating a transparency trail.
That's all great stuff. I mean, we're talking about it, is there anything else from the finance meeting that came up?
I think
This
this
Jessica
one,
wasn't here.
yeah, I think that's, it was just kind of preliminary.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I did talk to her after that. She
Mm-hmm.
didn't actually attend the finance meeting, but I did have a conversation afterwards with her. And she is of the same opinion with removing the sci-fair purchase policy from an addendum part of the contract, and then just putting whatever language it is that you want in there, like continue the over 500 report and add a check register, those kind of things, and put it in the actual contract, where the sci-fair purchase policy is actually a sci-fair policy, since it's all done on the sci-fair side.
Yeah, as long as we have visibility to see what's going on.
Right.
That's really all we're trying to do. So, okay.
And we get that information well enough in advance that we have the ability to ask questions about it before we sit down here, because this is not the right forum, I don't think, to go through line by line and say, what is this, what is this? We should know what that is when we come to vote on it.
Right.
Good stuff. So, let's go to 18. To review, discuss, take action regarding the energy request, capital request, and operational request for sewer departments. Sacramento schedule. So let's move to review, discuss, and take action regarding obtaining and implementing DocuSign for processing purchase orders.
Implementing.
Sorry, it's been a long day, folks.
No,
You
you
read it right.
interpreted it right.
You read it
Yeah,
right.
we did. It was.
Did I do it right? Well, you can.
You did it right. That's on me.
Yeah, it's me picking on my
I think
list.
we kind of work too.
I'm glad that my cross-eyedness got it said.
So this is about, giving, Tom the ability to sign purchase orders electronically rather than printing it, signing it, and scanning it, and sending it back, because it's particularly when people travel or it's in off hours, it's very difficult to do that. It's, the one user version of that's $10 a month, so it's $120 a year. I don't know if we want to extend it beyond that to other people, but that was my recommendation to do that. So I used a personal copy of Acrobat when I was doing it, and well, Corinne is not here, but Tim, I think you'll say that it saves a tremendous amount of time not having to.
How much does it cost to edit? Is it 10 per user, or?
10 per user. I think the next
There's
one
the
up is
enterprise
5,
version.
and it's maybe.
That's the personal version, there is an
Yeah.
enterprise version.
I would say let's start with it, and we can increment it if we want to.
If it works out great.
Yeah, I mean, we use it at my office, I mean, probably all of us have used it
Yeah.
to buy houses,
Yeah.
it's kind of, and the amount of POs is pretty impressive, it comes through.
Right.
And how long it takes to wait for, it whole puts a big.
Yeah, it streamlines everything
Yeah.
as far as getting it, from here to here.
Yeah.
And real quick, so Bob, you were already using it previously?
I was using something similar to it.
Okay.
Right.
And so tell me, kind of walk me through like how we use, like, what, they generate a PO.
Okay, so typically what happens, they'll send a request, Karina will type up a PO,
Right.
create a PDF, so it's not modifiable. And when you bring it into the application, whether it's Adobe PDF Professional or DocuSign, you have the capability of going in and basically applying an electronic signature to the signature area. You can also put the date on it and a couple things like that. And then it electronically signs it, and you just send it off. And that's
And these are POs that we've already approved here?
right. They've already been approved. It's really
Just signing it, that's all it
just
is.
signing it.
That's all it
And
is.
to be honest, I'm not even sure,
I got it.
I mean,
No,
the
I'm-
company receiving it probably wants a signature on it, but it's
You
not.
sold me, I got it.
So we do the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyways, my recommendation is to get start out with a one-copy version of DocuSign. It's $120 a year, $10 a month.
Make a motion for that.
All in favor? Aye. So,
Did you second?
I made the motion.
Oh, then I second.
I got it.
just lightning fast today.
Yeah, right.
All of us. So to review, discuss, and take action regarding the district committee reports as well as the appointment of any new committees. So I think we touched on the building committee.
I handle finance.
You have finance,
I've got a couple there.
a couple for IT.
IT, we met and you saw us in the presentation on the radio. What I'll be starting up next is, we have, budget money this year for a document management system. And what we want to do is be able to move in that direction so we can not only be a lot more efficient, but also be able to provide this electronically, off the website. So I'll be getting with the women's over there and talking about document management. What's that?
Like Power DMS or something like that?
Right, so we're gonna kick that off and come up with some recommendations on that. What's that?
Already announced.
And then the other one is, we're gonna be starting looking at the video conferencing component. That's something we kind of put on hold, last year, and now that the phone system's been approved, we can look at what our options are on that. So that we'll start in both of those over the next few weeks and over the next several months. This is some recommendations from us. I've not had a chance to get with Jessica on the outreach program yet. I've been out of town for 2 weeks, and then hopefully in the next couple of weeks we'll get together and talk about it.
So, Mr. Planning?
The planning committee met and we started laying the foundation for creating a new 5, 10, 15, 20-year plan, what our goals and expectations are going to be from both sides, you know, the department and from the district. You know, starting the outline of what those type of goals are going to be, what we want the department and the district to look like in 5 years, 10 years, so on. It was a very productive meeting, and I think that we are heading in the right direction. A lot more meeting is needed, but yeah, it went well, and we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, it was, the only comments that, yeah, it was a good meeting from the perspective as well, just setting the bar for what the performance measurements are for what we feel as a group will make, and then how do we get there, facilities and all that kind of stuff. So it was really great first meeting, I think. So,
Do you have anything to say about it?
No, it was just really nice to be able to sit down in the same room at the same time and have a conversation and move forward.
I agree.
I think that covers the committees.
There was no, was it personnel and ethics?
Yes, next slide there.
Oh, there we go.
Yes. So we
So-
didn't have a personnel and ethics committee meeting yet. That's still coming, right?
No, yeah, no, so Commissioner Langenberg and Commissioner Rivas are working on getting their dates and times together, but it is in the works. We helped Commissioner Rivas get her technology answers and abilities set up. She is email capable now. And so we are, they'll move forward with that. I'll help coordinate, you know, what their dates, times are, and get with the chief and their folks to make sure that happens. I believe Chief Ramon and Chief Clements will be the parties on that one. On that note, I just want to throw something in there, because I know a lot of people, they're very limited on the how far outside this room or this ESD or this fire department they've ever been. In 30-something years, I've worked with multiple city councils, fire commissioners at the village, been to meetings with them, been to 5 different ESDs in their meetings. The involvement of the commissioners here and the fire department and the efforts that the 2 of them do, this isn't your typical ESD. This isn't the show up one Thursday night a month and have a 30-minute meeting and check out and go away. And it's impressive how much the ESD commissioners take on, how much the chief and her staff take on, and how involved and integrated this has become. Not saying it's all, you know, coming up roses and everybody's happy about it. I'm not saying everything is.
We're moving in the right direction.
Everybody's happy and hunky-dory with it. I'm saying it's impressive how much time the commissioners invest and put into all of this. And I just want to let y'all know this is far and beyond the normal ESD commission. I think Ira would agree with that. We see a lot of effort on the commissioners' part.
Well, I do have Chief Parker and ESD Commissioner Parker sitting
He's
right
an
here.
exception.
He wasn't paying attention.
He's okay, he's not listening.
Yeah, just
Lance,
that
don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Jeff wasn't talking.
So I would put it in the top 50 that I go to. No, your point's well taken. I'm just teasing.
I get it. Chief, yep, Commissioner Morgan, Commissioner, you know, over there, they do all that.
Thanks for all your help coordinating this, because there's been a lot of meetings recently, so couldn't do it and get through it without you. So, let's see, we're moving to number 21, to review and take action or receive submittal by a department of the 30-day advance request for purchase of capital items. All right, so now we are going to meet in closed session pursuant to Government Code 551.071, consult with our legal counsel. Thank y'all.
You actually read the government code. I like it.
Hey, I'm gonna